The planet Virion was unlike any place Adam had ever visited. Its cities floated above crystal-clear oceans, held in the air by advanced anti-gravity technology. Buildings shimmered with colors that shifted in harmony with the sunlight. Holographic panels hovered along streets and plazas, displaying news, art, and announcements in a variety of alien languages. Humans had come here before, but Adam had never felt the pulse of a world so alive with energy and intelligence. He stepped off the small transport shuttle, adjusting the strap of his bag. The council hall, where he was to meet representatives from dozens of planets, was enormous. Its ceiling arched high into the sky, seemingly open to space itself. Light flowed in through transparent panels, reflecting off polished floors. The air smelled faintly of minerals and flowers, a strange but pleasant combination. Adam's human senses were flooded with sights, sounds, and scents unlike anything on Earth. Adam was young but steady. He had trained as an ambassador for Earth in interstellar diplomacy. Unlike some humans who were timid around aliens, he carried himself with calm confidence. He knew that humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, but they were intelligent, creative, and resilient. These qualities had earned them respect in some circles, though they were still underestimated by many alien civilizations. As he entered the council hall, Adam noticed the variety of beings gathered there. Some floated above the floor with thin wings, others had multiple limbs, and some were enormous with thick skin and glowing eyes. Despite the differences, all had gathered for the same purpose: discussion, negotiation, and, perhaps, understanding. Adam's attention was caught by a figure sitting slightly apart from the main crowd. She was an Alithian, a species known for their elegance and intelligence. Her name was Zara, and her presence was quiet yet commanding. Her skin shifted in soft colors as she observed the room, reflecting her emotions. When her eyes landed on Adam, the hue became warmer. She did not look at him like others might have at a stranger. There was curiosity, admiration, and something else that even Adam could sense. He made his way to his assigned seat and introduced himself to nearby delegates. Polite greetings were exchanged, though he noticed that many eyes kept drifting toward Zara. There was something magnetic about her, a calm aura that drew attention without demanding it. The council's opening ceremony began. Holographic displays showed treaties and achievements of various planets. Leaders spoke in their own languages, each voice translated through universal translators. Adam listened carefully, taking notes and observing how different species communicated. Humans had learned to adapt quickly, and he was determined to show that Earth could contribute more than just labor or resources. During a break, Adam wandered closer to the observation deck. The hall was partially open to the sky, revealing Virion's vast oceans and floating islands. Ships moved in the distance, some human, many alien. He felt a sense of wonder but also a weight of responsibility. As a human ambassador, he represented his entire species. One wrong move could sour relationships or even make humans appear weak. Zara approached him silently, her steps light on the polished floor. Adam turned, surprised by her sudden presence. Her expression was gentle, but her eyes seemed to study him deeply. "Greetings, human," she said in perfect basic, the universal language. "I am Zara of the Alithians. I have observed your species for many cycles. Your presence here is interesting." Adam smiled politely. "Thank you. I hope to represent Earth well. It is an honor to meet you, Zara." Zara tilted her head slightly, considering his words. "You are calm. Confident. Yet I sense something deeper. Curiosity, perhaps." A desire to understand more than you are required to. Adam nodded. That is true. Humans learn by understanding. We rely on observation and creativity more than strength. It is how we survive, how we adapt. Her eyes shifted to a soft green hue. Adaptation. Yes. That is admirable. Many species in this hall rely on power, influence, or age. Yet you, humans, rely on something fragile and strong at the same time. It is fascinating. Adam felt a mix of pride and humility. He had never considered that other beings might study humans as closely as humans studied them. We are small, but we try to make a difference wherever we can. Zara smiled faintly, a subtle curve that seemed almost human. And yet, I sense in you more than a representative. You carry hope. And hope is rare in the galaxy. Before Adam could respond, a signal sounded across the hall, calling delegates back to their seats. Zara nodded slightly and stepped back, letting him pass. Adam watched her as she returned to her own corner, noticing the gentle sway of her movements and the calm confidence she carried. Something about her intrigued him. She was more than a diplomat, she seemed aware of the weight of her presence, of the energy she carried. The council session resumed, and discussions turned to trade agreements, peace treaties, and planetary defense strategies. Adam contributed when he could, showing creative solutions and diplomacy that impressed some of the alien delegates. He noticed subtle nods from Zara whenever he made a point, though no words were exchanged. It was clear she was paying attention. During another break, Adam found himself wandering near a balcony that overlooked the hall. He could see the entire gathering from above, the mix of species moving together yet apart, each interacting in their own ways. The diversity of life amazed him, but he also noticed the subtle tensions. Some delegates were skeptical of humans. Others underestimated them. Yet Zara's gaze seemed to follow him, almost shielding him from the subtle judgments around him. Do you find our council overwhelming? Zara's voice startled him. She had appeared without notice, as if she could glide through the crowd without being seen. Adam shook his head. It is impressive, yes. But also intimidating. I have not met so many intelligent beings in one place before. It is easy to feel small. Zara's eyes shifted to a soft gold. Small, yet significant. You have a presence that commands attention, even if it is subtle. It is not strength in size that matters, human, but in action and mind. Adam smiled, feeling unexpectedly encouraged. Thank you, Zara. That is kind of you to say. Humans have much to learn, but we try to contribute. She studied him for a moment longer, then nodded. I will watch your progress. Perhaps there is more to learn from you than you realize. The rest of the day passed in a whirlwind of introductions, speeches, and demonstrations of technology from different worlds. Adam moved through the crowd, shaking hands, sharing ideas, and listening to stories. Yet he could not shake the feeling that Zara's eyes followed him, silently observing. There was an intelligence in her attention, a quiet curiosity that went beyond politics or diplomacy. As the sun of Virion began to set, casting long shadows over the floating islands, Adam finally found a quiet moment to rest. He stood on a balcony overlooking the oceans, watching ships glide through the air. He reflected on the day's events and realized how different this world was from Earth. Yet amidst the grandeur, he felt a strange sense of connection with Zara, though they had only spoken briefly. Zara appeared beside him again, almost as if drawn by the same feeling. You wonder if you can belong here, she said softly. Adam nodded. It is different. I feel both welcomed and tested. Humans are still young in the galaxy. Sometimes it feels like we are proving ourselves every moment. She smiled faintly. And yet, you do not falter. That is what makes you interesting. Perhaps there is hope in humans yet. Adam turned to look at her, sensing the sincerity in her voice. Thank you. I hope we can show that humans are more than what others think. That we can contribute in ways beyond what is expected. Zara's gaze softened. Yes, Adam. That is what I hope too. As the sky turned deep blue and stars began to twinkle above the floating islands, Adam felt a strange sense of anticipation. Something about this planet, this council, and this alien woman promised that the days ahead would be extraordinary. He did not yet know how, but he felt that the encounter with Zara was only the beginning of something important not just for him, but perhaps for all humans. And though the council hall was still alive with voices and movement, Adam sensed a quiet moment of understanding had passed between them. A moment that might change more than anyone could imagine. The next morning, the council hall was brighter and even more crowded than before. Delegates from dozens of planets moved about, discussing trade agreements, alliances, and shared technologies. Adam walked through the halls with a sense of purpose. He knew that humans were still new in the galaxy, and every word and action mattered. Yet, despite the busy crowd and endless conversations, Adam felt a subtle pull toward Zara. She moved gracefully through the hall, her skin shifting soft shades of green and blue, indicating curiosity and calm focus. Adam noticed the way she observed every delegate, analyzing expressions and movements. It was clear she was paying attention to more than the council's official business. During a brief pause in the morning's proceedings, Adam found himself near a quiet side corridor that led to a balcony overlooking the central hall. He had learned that this hall, while grand and open, had hidden corners where delegates could speak privately. He leaned on the railing, taking a deep breath, when he sensed someone approaching. Adam, a familiar voice said softly. He turned to see Zara standing there, her posture relaxed but poised. She smiled faintly, a warmth in her expression that seemed almost human. "May we speak?" she asked. Adam nodded. "Of course. I was hoping we could talk. The council can be overwhelming sometimes." They stepped into a small alcove near the balcony. Light filtered in from the windows, casting long shadows over the polished floor. The sounds of the bustling hall below were faint here, muffled by the distance and walls. It felt like a quiet pocket of space separate from the expectations and formalities of the council. Zara regarded him carefully. "I have been watching you closely since your arrival," she said. Her eyes softened to a gentle green. "I observe many humans, but you are different." Adam raised an eyebrow, unsure how to respond. "Different? In what way?" Her gaze held his. "You carry strength without arrogance. You have confidence without harshness. Most humans rely on words and actions to survive, but you rely on thought and understanding. It is remarkable." Adam felt a mix of pride and discomfort. Compliments from an alien of Zara's stature were unusual, and yet sincere. "I only do what I think is right," he replied quietly. "Humans learn by trying, and sometimes we fail. But we always try again." Zara nodded, as if she understood more than his words conveyed. She hesitated for a moment, her color shifting to a soft gold, a sign of emotional vulnerability in her species. "Adam," she said finally, her voice gentle but steady, "there is something I must tell you. Something I have not shared with anyone here." Adam felt a sudden tension. The alcove was small, private, yet the weight of her words made the air feel heavier. "What is it?" he asked carefully. Zara took a deep breath. "I wish you were my husband, Adam." The words hung in the air, unexpected and profound. Adam blinked, stunned. He had not anticipated this. Before he could respond, a faint pulse of sound echoed from the council's communication system. Somehow, the walls of the alcove had not completely blocked the broadcast, and Zara's words were transmitted across the hall. From below, he could hear a murmur rising. Delegates were talking in hurried whispers, some looking up toward the balcony. Humans nearby gasped softly, uncertain how to react. Aliens shifted in surprise, their expressions ranging from curiosity to shock. Adam turned back to Zara, whose expression was calm yet vulnerable. You mean this?" he asked cautiously. "I do," she said, her voice steady. "I have observed humans for many cycles. I have studied your kind, watched how you think, how you act, how you care for one another. And I find in you something rare, something extraordinary. Courage, empathy, creativity. I wish to share my life with you. I wish you were my husband." Adam felt a swirl of emotions. Shock, curiosity, and even a quiet sense of honor. He had always known humans were capable of great things, but he had never expected an alien of Zara's intelligence and status to express such admiration. "Zara," he said slowly, choosing his words, "I am honored by your words. Truly. But this is unexpected. We are from very different worlds. Your life, your people, your culture, it is so different from mine." Her gaze softened. "I know, Adam. But differences do not diminish the value of connection. Humans are underestimated in this galaxy, yet your kind carries potential others do not see. That potential, it draws me to you." Adam could see the sincerity in her eyes, the depth of thought behind her words. He understood that this was not a superficial attraction. Zara had studied him, considered him, and chosen him not for power or status, but for qualities she admired deeply. "And yet," he said cautiously, "the council, the other delegates. How will they react?" Zara's eyes turned a deep green, a sign of determination in her species. "Let them wonder. Let them question. What matters is truth, not opinion. If you were to accept me, we would face challenges. But we would also show that connection between species is possible, that humans can inspire and lead in ways others cannot imagine." Adam felt a sense of responsibility. Humans were still young in the galaxy, often underestimated, yet here was a chance to demonstrate the value of their kind in a very personal and visible way. He thought of Earth, of his family and friends, and of all the humans who had struggled to make their presence known among advanced civilizations. "I need time," he said finally, his voice firm but respectful. "This is not something I can decide lightly. But I promise, I will think carefully about what you have shared." Zara nodded, a faint smile on her face. "I expected nothing less, Adam. Take the time you need. My hope is that your choice will reflect understanding, not pressure. But know this: my admiration is genuine, and it will not waver." As they stood in the quiet alcove, the murmurs from the hall below continued. Delegates whispered among themselves, exchanging glances and raising questions. Some speculated about the unusual bond between a human and an Alithian. Others watched in fascination, seeing a possible shift in interstellar relationships. Adam and Zara descended together back into the main hall. The atmosphere felt charged, yet they spoke politely with other delegates, showing calm professionalism. Even amidst whispers and sideways glances, they carried themselves with dignity. During the afternoon, Adam noticed how Zara observed him with quiet attentiveness. She would tilt her head slightly when he spoke, her eyes reflecting subtle color changes that indicated focus and curiosity. Adam realized that this attention was not intrusive, it was a study, an effort to understand human nature from someone who valued it deeply. By the end of the day, Adam had returned to his quarters, his mind racing with thoughts. He replayed Zara's words over and over. He felt a mixture of awe, confusion, and a strange sense of possibility. Could a human truly form a bond with an Alithian in a way that would be accepted across the galaxy? Was it possible that one human could inspire an entire species to reconsider their assumptions? As night fell on Virion, Adam looked out over the floating islands and oceans. Lights glimmered in the distance, ships moving slowly through the air like glowing fireflies. He thought about the path ahead, filled with diplomacy, culture, and unexpected connections. A soft chime sounded from his quarters, and he found a small holographic message waiting for him. It was from Zara. Think carefully, Adam. Your choices matter not just for you, but for many others. Rest well. Tomorrow brings new opportunities. Adam smiled faintly, feeling a warmth in his chest. Her words were both gentle and firm, a reflection of her nature. He realized that the days ahead would not just test his abilities as a diplomat, they would test his heart, his understanding, and his courage to embrace the unexpected. And in that quiet moment, looking out over a world so different from his own, Adam felt the first spark of a journey that would change his life forever. The council hall had been shocked, the delegates had whispered, and the galaxy seemed to pause. But for Adam and Zara, a quiet understanding had begun. One that promised challenges, growth, and perhaps a bond that no one could have predicted. The first step had been taken, and the story of a human and an Alithian had just begun. The next day, the council hall was buzzing even louder than before. Delegates had heard the words Zara spoke, and though no official statement had been made, whispers ran through the great chamber like a spreading fire. Some looked at Adam with curious eyes, some with doubt, and some with quiet amusement. Adam kept his expression calm as he walked to his place. He knew humans were being judged not only for diplomacy but also for how he himself would handle this unusual situation. It was no longer just about politics. Now, every move he made was being measured against Zara's public words. Zara entered the chamber soon after. She held her head high, her steps confident, though Adam could see the shifting tones of her skin reveal that she was aware of the attention. The colors moved slowly between soft blue and firm green, showing calm determination mixed with quiet resolve. She did not try to hide her choice, nor did she retreat from the gazes of the others. When the council session began, the conversations quickly turned from trade to questions about unity, cooperation, and the meaning of bonds between different species. Some representatives used the moment to make indirect comments. A delegate from the tall, crystalline Travians spoke first. It is curious to see what connections can form between species. But one must ask, can such bonds truly last? A human's life is short compared to an Alithian's. What strength can such a union bring to our galaxy? A low hum of agreement came from some parts of the chamber. Others remained silent but exchanged glances. Adam kept his face steady, but inside he felt the pressure of the words. He did not rise to defend himself yet, knowing it was not the right time. To his surprise, Zara spoke instead. Lifespan is not the measure of worth, she said calmly. Her voice carried across the chamber, clear and strong. A moment of true courage, true empathy, or true understanding can shape centuries of thought. Humans may live fewer years, but in those years, they carry fire. That fire cannot be dismissed. The chamber grew quiet. Some nodded in thought, others frowned. Adam noticed that even among skeptics, Zara's words made them pause. After the session ended, Adam left the main hall and walked along a corridor lined with glowing panels. He heard footsteps behind him and turned to see Zara approaching. "They do not understand," she said softly. "They measure worth by power, by time, by influence. But they do not see what I see." Adam nodded, his voice steady. "I know. Humans are still new to them. They expect strength to be shown in ways they already know. But we must show them differently." Zara's eyes softened to a pale gold. "Then let us show them together." Over the following days, Adam and Zara spent more time with one another. It was not in secret. They spoke openly in the gardens that floated on platforms above the oceans, and they walked through the long crystal corridors of the council hall. Their presence together drew attention everywhere they went. Some looked at them with curiosity, others with doubt, but none ignored them. One evening, Zara invited Adam to join her in a traditional Alithian ceremony of learning. The ceremony was held in a quiet chamber filled with glowing stones and soft, flowing water. The Alithians believed that water carried memory, and by touching the streams, one could share pieces of thought and feeling. Adam was hesitant at first, but Zara explained with patience. "You do not need to fear. This ceremony does not take from you. It only allows us to sense more clearly. You will see how Alithians understand one another." Adam agreed. He placed his hand in the cool water beside Zara's. For a moment, he felt nothing. Then slowly, faint impressions touched his mind: colors, emotions, fragments of thought. He sensed Zara's calmness, her curiosity, and beneath it, her deep admiration for humanity. It was not forced, not a surface thought, but a truth that pulsed like a heartbeat. Zara, in turn, sensed Adam's honesty, his cautious hope, and his determination to represent his people well. When they withdrew their hands, both were quiet for a time, reflecting on what they had shared. "You see now," Zara said gently, "why I spoke as I did. You are more than a delegate. You carry what others do not." Adam met her gaze. "And you see that I am only human. I doubt, I question, I fear. But maybe that is part of what makes us strong." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, but so too did the challenges. Other species began to question the meaning of their connection more directly. Some accused Zara of being influenced by novelty, while others accused Adam of seeking power by attaching himself to an Alithian. One afternoon, as Adam left the council chamber, a group of delegates blocked his path. They were members of the Karvek, a proud warrior species with scaled skin and piercing eyes. Their leader, tall and broad, stepped forward. "Human," the Karvek said, his tone sharp, "you think yourself worthy of an Alithian's bond? You are fragile. Your species is fragile. Do not pretend you are equal to us." Adam met his gaze calmly, though he felt the weight of the challenge. "I do not pretend," he said firmly. "I know humans are not as strong as Karvek or as long-lived as Alithians. But we have something else. We survive when others give up. We find paths when there are none. That is our strength." The Karvek hissed softly but did not strike. Instead, he turned away with a grunt. The other delegates followed, leaving Adam standing alone in the corridor. He knew this was only the beginning. Later, When he told Zara of the encounter, she looked at him with pride. "You answered with truth. That is what they do not expect. They are used to power meeting power. But you meet power with reason. That is human strength." Their time together also brought moments of peace. They visited the gardens again, where glowing flowers opened only at night. They walked along the shores of the floating islands, listening to the sound of waves far below. In those moments, the council's noise and tension faded, leaving only the quiet understanding between them. Still, the challenges remained. Each day brought new whispers, new doubts, new tests of Adam's place among the stars. Yet he did not retreat. With Zara beside him, he faced each challenge with steady courage. The council began to notice. Some who had doubted now watched more closely, curious about what would come. Others grew uneasy, fearing that this bond might shift balances of power in ways they could not control. One evening, as the stars filled the sky above Virion, Adam stood on the balcony of his quarters. He looked out at the vastness of space, thinking of Earth, of his people, and of the path before him. Zara joined him, her presence quiet but strong. "Do you regret this?" she asked softly. Adam shook his head. "No. It is not easy, but I do not regret it. I think humans have always been tested. This is only another test. And maybe, if we pass, others will see us differently." Zara's eyes glowed softly, reflecting the starlight. "Then we will pass it together." As they stood side by side, the galaxy around them seemed vast and uncertain, but Adam felt a quiet certainty in his heart. The challenges were only beginning, but with Zara, he believed they could face whatever lay ahead. For in the end, it was not strength of body or length of years that would matter, but the strength of connection, of truth, and of hope. And that was something no whisper, no doubt, no barrier could take away. The council hall on Virion had never felt so tense. Weeks of debates and whispers about Zara's confession had filled the air with curiosity and judgment, but now something far greater threatened them all. News arrived during a morning session. A holographic screen lit up in the center of the chamber, showing flickering images of ships attacking a nearby neutral station. The attackers were identified as a rogue faction of the Dravik, a warlike species that had long been considered unstable. They had no seat in the council and rejected all treaties. Now, they were targeting supply routes critical to several planets, including Virion itself. The chamber erupted in voices. Delegates spoke at once, some calling for immediate defense, others demanding negotiations. The situation was dangerous, too dangerous for endless arguments. Yet no single species wanted to take full responsibility, fearing losses. Adam sat quietly at his seat, watching the panic unfold. His mind raced. Humans had always survived by thinking quickly, by finding solutions where none seemed to exist. He knew he could not remain silent. He stood, his voice steady. "If we delay, the rogue Dravik will only grow bolder. We must act together. This is not about one species. This is about protecting peace itself." Some delegates turned toward him, surprised that a human spoke with such directness. The Karvek delegate who had mocked him earlier gave a sharp laugh. "And what would a human know of war? Your kind is small, your fleets are weak." Adam met his gaze calmly. "Perhaps. But humans know survival. We know strategy. And we know unity. If you doubt our strength, then allow us to prove it." The chamber quieted. Zara rose beside him, her voice clear. "I will stand with him. His mind sees paths where others see only walls. If he has a plan, I believe it is worth hearing. The delegates hesitated, but curiosity won over. The council leader gestured. Very well, human. Speak. Adam explained quickly. The Dravik relied on brute force, their ships built for intimidation and destruction. But they had weaknesses: predictable movement patterns, over-reliance on frontal assaults, and poor coordination in complex environments. Adam suggested a joint strategy: lure the Dravik into a narrow zone near the asteroid fields surrounding Virion, where larger ships would struggle to maneuver. Then, smaller Allied vessels could strike from hidden positions, forcing the Dravik into retreat without heavy losses. At first, some scoffed. But as Adam laid out details: timing, positioning, and resource use, the room grew quieter. Even seasoned commanders leaned forward, considering his words. The strategy was bold, but it made sense. The council leader finally spoke. It is a risk. But it may work. And since you propose it, human, you will join the mission. Adam nodded without hesitation. I will. Zara's eyes glowed a determined green. Then I will go as well. That evening, the Allied fleet prepared. Adam boarded a mid-sized vessel alongside Zara. The ship hummed with power as engines engaged, and crews from multiple species worked together. For Adam, it was his first time aboard a ship heading directly into danger on behalf of the Council. His heart pounded, but he forced himself to remain calm. He knew lives depended on his plan. As the fleet moved into position near the asteroid belt, Adam stood at the command table. Holograms of ships glowed above the surface, showing their formation. Zara stood beside him, her presence steady and reassuring. The Dravik arrived soon after, dozens of large, heavily armed ships, advancing with aggression. Their weapons flared, firing at the Allied fleet. The chamber shook as shields absorbed the first strikes. Hold position, Adam ordered, his voice firm. Do not engage directly. Draw them closer to the belt. The Allied commanders hesitated but followed his lead. The Dravik pressed forward, eager for a fight, believing the fleet was retreating in fear. Adam's eyes tracked the holograms carefully. He had studied human history, the battles of Earth where smaller forces defeated larger ones through clever tactics. He knew this was the moment to use that knowledge. Now, Adam said sharply. Split formation. Draw them into the narrow channels. The Allied ships broke apart, moving swiftly into the asteroid field. The Dravik pursued, their larger vessels struggling in the tight spaces. Some collided with rocks, others slowed to avoid damage. Hidden wings, engage, Adam commanded. From behind asteroids, smaller Allied ships surged forward, striking at the Dravik's exposed flanks. Energy blasts lit up the void, shaking the enemy's formation. The Dravik tried to respond, but their bulk made them vulnerable. Zara watched Adam closely as he gave orders. She saw his calm focus, the way he adapted instantly to changes. When a Dravik ship tried to flank them, Adam adjusted positions within seconds, turning a threat into an opening. Hours passed like minutes. The battle raged, but slowly the tide turned. One by one, the Dravik ships broke off, retreating into deep space. The Allied fleet, though damaged, held strong. Cheers erupted across the ships as victory became clear. Adam let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. The plan had worked. The rogue faction was defeated, and peace had been preserved. Back in the council hall, the atmosphere was transformed. Delegates who once doubted him now spoke with respect. Even the Karvek warrior bowed his head slightly, acknowledging Adam's leadership. The council leader addressed the chamber. Let it be known that today, a human saved countless lives. Strategy and courage turned the tide when brute force alone would have failed. We must remember this. Adam felt humbled by the words. He had not sought glory, only survival for all. Yet now, humans were no longer seen as fragile newcomers. They were recognized as partners of value. After the session ended, Zara approached him privately. Her eyes shimmered gold, filled with emotion. You proved it, Adam. Not just to them, but to me. You showed what it means to be human. You showed why I chose you. Adam smiled softly. I only did what I knew. Humans may not be the strongest, but we know how to fight for what matters. And peace matters. Zara stepped closer, her voice gentle but strong. And so do you. You matter. To me, and perhaps to the future of both our people. The stars above Virion shone brightly that night, reflecting in the oceans below. Adam stood on the balcony once again, looking out at the vast galaxy. He knew challenges were not over, more tests would come, more doubts would rise. But he also knew that something had changed. For the first time, humanity's worth had been proven not by power or technology, but by the mind and heart of one man. And beside him stood an Alithian who believed in that worth completely. Together, they had shown the galaxy that strength is not always measured in weapons or years, but in creativity, unity, and courage. And as Adam looked at Zara, he realized this was no longer just about diplomacy. It was about something deeper, something that could unite entire worlds. The Council had seen their bond, the galaxy had witnessed human worth, and the path ahead was wide open. But Adam knew one truth above all: this was only the beginning. The victory over the Dravik spread across the galaxy like fire through dry grass. Word of how the human Adam had guided the Council fleet to success reached planets far beyond Virion. Species who had never spoken of humans now whispered about them with new respect. But in the Council Hall, a different storm was brewing. Zara's earlier confession that she wished Adam were her husband had been a shock that no one had forgotten. Now, after Adam had proven himself, the Council could not ignore it any longer. The question was not only about love but also about unity between species. Could a bond like theirs change the course of history, or would it divide the Council even more? The chamber filled once again, with leaders from dozens of worlds seated in the circle. The air was heavy with anticipation. Adam sat at his place, calm but thoughtful. He was not a trained diplomat, but he knew this meeting was as important as any battle. The council leader rose. We are gathered not only to honor the victory but to decide on a matter that concerns more than 2 lives. The Alithian Zara made a confession that shocked us all. She wishes to join her life with a human. This is not a simple matter of emotion. This is a question of culture, of diplomacy, of the future. Let us speak openly. Murmurs swept through the hall. Some delegates looked curious, others cautious, and a few openly disapproving. The Karvek warrior, who had once mocked Adam, spoke first. At first, I saw this human as weak. Now I cannot deny his courage. But courage does not mean compatibility. Can 2 species live as one? What will it mean for their children, for their traditions? The Letheri delegate, a scholar with silver eyes, raised a hand. Perhaps the question is not if it can be done, but if it should be done. Change often begins with individuals. If they succeed, perhaps others will see that unity is more than treaties. Zara stood. Her tall frame seemed to glow in the chamber light, but her voice was steady and calm. I do not ask the council to approve my feelings. Feelings are not bound by laws. But I do ask that you recognize what Adam has shown us. He is human, yet he fought for worlds that were not his own. He protected life without asking for reward. If such a bond is wrong, then perhaps we are not ready for true peace. Her words carried across the hall, and for a long moment, silence followed. Then Adam rose slowly. His voice was soft, but every word was clear. I am not a warrior like many of you. I am not a leader of worlds. I am simply human. But humans have always looked at the stars and wondered if we are alone. Meeting Zara, meeting all of you, proved we are not. If Zara sees value in me, it is not because I am strong but because I try. Humans are not perfect, but we try again and again, no matter how many times we fall. If that is something the galaxy can accept, then maybe this bond is not a risk, but a gift. The chamber was still. Even those who doubted could not deny the honesty in his words. At last, the council leader spoke. We cannot decide the matters of the heart. But we can choose whether to forbid or allow what is before us. I ask the council to vote. One by one, lights glowed above each seat as delegates cast their choices. Green for approval, red for denial. Adam watched as the lights appeared green, then red, then green again. His chest tightened with each flash. When the final light appeared, the chamber held its breath. The result was clear. The majority had chosen green. The council leader's voice rang out. The bond between Zara of Alithia and Adam of Earth is recognized. It shall not be forbidden. Let it stand as a symbol of what may be possible. The hall erupted in mixed sounds, cheers from some, grumbles from others, but the decision was made. Zara turned to Adam, her eyes bright with emotion. For a moment, neither spoke, but the look between them carried more than words ever could. Later that evening, a celebration was held on the grand balcony overlooking the oceans of Virion. The sky blazed with 2 moons and countless stars. Music from many species blended together, strange yet beautiful. Delegates and citizens mingled, no longer speaking of battle but of hope. Adam stood near the edge, gazing at the horizon. Zara joined him, her long robes moving gently in the night wind. You changed everything today, she said softly. Adam shook his head. No. We changed it together. Alone, I could not have done it. But with you, it feels like anything is possible. Zara looked at him, her expression tender. When I confessed my wish, I was not certain how you would respond. But now, after all we have faced, I do not regret it. Do you? Adam smiled. No. Not for a moment. For a while, they simply stood together, listening to the sound of waves far below. The galaxy stretched above them, vast and endless. The council leader approached then, holding a ceremonial staff. Tradition among the council is to mark moments that may change history. Tonight, we mark yours. Not as rulers, not as critics, but as witnesses. Let this bond remind us that peace is not built only by laws, but by trust between hearts. The leader struck the staff gently against the ground, and lights rippled across the balcony floor. Delegates and citizens clapped their hands, wings, or claws in applause. Adam felt his heart swell. He had never imagined his life would lead here to another world, to another species, to a bond that could bridge galaxies. Yet here he was, not just as a human, but as a partner in something greater. Zara placed her hand over his. The future will not be easy. There will be challenges. But I believe in us. Adam squeezed her hand gently. So do I. As the celebration continued, Adam thought of Earth, of the long journey from the small blue planet to this hall of stars. Humanity was still new to the Council, still learning, still proving itself. But tonight, something had shifted. They were no longer seen as outsiders. They were part of the story. And at the center of it all was a simple truth: sometimes the greatest strength was not power or fear, but the courage to love across boundaries. The night stretched on with music and laughter. Delegates who had once doubted came to greet Adam, offering words of respect. Some even asked questions about Earth, curious for the first time. Zara watched proudly as Adam spoke, her heart certain that her confession had not been a mistake. As dawn touched the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold, Adam and Zara stood side by side. The future was unknown, but it was theirs to shape. And so began a new chapter, not just for them, but for all who believed that humanity, with all its flaws and hope, truly had a place among the stars.